Well, hello everyone. Welcome along to the Rangers Rabble. This is the final reaction to the league campaign, where score today was Hearts 3, Rangers 3. And there was one comment I'm just going to pick up straight away that Mel put in. I think that'll sum up a lot of people's feelings today with that performance. 3-1 up with 8-9 minutes to go and not seeing the game out. It's getting much like Groundhog Day, but today I am joined by two class guys. Love coming on the pod with them. Connor, how are we?
Aye, not bad. Aye, pretty much echoing the sentiments of that comment there. I mean, of course, the league campaign's over. Season's not quite over. That's the tricky thing. Obviously, we'll go into that next weekend. But I think glad that campaign's now in the past, and see where we move on for here.
Yeah, absolutely. And Scott, how are we?
Not bad, Brian. When you mentioned class guys there, I was about to look about me, see I was rolling, but thanks for that.
Yes, so here we are. It's the end of the league campaign. I'll just do a quick double check here that Rangers finished on 85 points. Celtic winning the league with 93 points, so the gap was 8 points. Connor, as you just spoke before we came on, it's that pretty much we started where we finished, but I would certainly say in the last couple of months, Connor, that things have obviously went completely pear-shaped for the squad and the team.
Certainly have. Putting all that hard work in the early part of Clement's reign to claw back what was ironically at the time an 8-point gap that Clement inherited, to the point where we did briefly actually get on top of the table with 2 points. Should have been more, there's no question about it. And it's moments and seasons like that cost you. You look at that Motherwell game, for example, we could have been 5 points clear. Albeit there's nothing to say that if we were 5 clear, Celtic would have then gone on and lost at Tynecastle as they did the next day. But even with that, that still got us out of jail with that performance, and that should have been a kick up the backside to say, right, got away with one there. Hearts have done us a turn. We need to get the foot in the gas here and start kicking on. Didn't do it, really. And then, obviously, the debacle with Dundee's pitch and, getting that game on at the third time of asking. I'm sure it didn't help. But again, that's games you've got to win. I mean, realistically, if you had said at the end of Michael Beale's tenure that you'd have 2 games away at Dundee and Ross County to solidify you at the top of the table going into the split, you'd have ripped your arm off for it, because you'd have thought, yeah, that's 2 winnable games. That's 2 games in most seasons you do win. And we didn't do it, and that's been the problem. Obviously, you look at the Old Firm games as well, not good enough to take 1 point out of 12. I think most days would say at the start of the season in those games, if you could take 6 out of 12 and win both your home games, that's fine. But we didn't even do that. So, yeah, there's a lot to dissect in it. I think today kind of summed up the season in a lot of ways. You saw the good, the bad, and the different from us today, really, which is kind of where we've been all season. Couple of good finishes for the goals, you've got to say. Cantwell and McCausland's finishes were fantastic. Silva, I thought he done well with his goal. But then you've got Dessers, the enigma that is Big Cyril. Misses a couple of gilt-edge opportunities. I think one of them might have been offside anyway, but he should still put it in the net. So it's, I think it sort of sums it all up, and that's where it's fallen off the cliff, as we've come into this last sort of 9 games of the season and just totally disappeared and faded, and it's allowed us to end up losing the league by 8 points, which over the course of the season, I guess where you finish is where you finish, and that is fair enough. It does make it look like it was a a far easier league title win for them than it actually was in reality. But that just sums us up, really, I think.
Yeah, Scott, I think there's obviously going to be a lot of apathy and sort of disappointment towards, this league campaign where we were maybe a couple of months ago or a month and a half ago. It's very... There's nothing that seems to have really changed in this period where we've dropped off. It's been the same sort of performances. It's been the same sort of mistakes. The manager's got a tough job in the summer, hasn't he?
He has, Brian, but the last 3 managers have had kind of the same job, haven't they? Trying to playing catch up in a way. And since he's come in, Phil's brought in Diamandi, brought in Silva. So he spent a wee bit of money there because obviously Neil's getting bought in the summer, so that's 4 point something million. Obviously it's not one who paid it at one time, but that's a bit of budget away already. And there's so many key positions in this team that need fixed, and might have to sell one of them, might have to sell the keeper to help raise with the recruitment. So that's another one you have to fix as well. But defensively, we've been poor all season. Defensively, we went through a wee spell when he came in, it kind of showed up a bit. But we've always been scoring goals. I know 1 or 2 games you might think we missed chances, and we did, but we've been creating, we've been scoring. Someone mentioned in the chat we scored 3 today, and we scored 3 goals, could have been more. But I think Hearts in total get 4 shots on target and they score 3 goals. Kind of tells its own story. It's like we can't. Jack Butland's been superb this season, but we can't keep clean sheets. We can't stop our teams from scoring, and it's the same mistakes, sometimes with the same players. They bring in others and they do exactly the same as the players done before. So midfield to front, they're actually okay, but defensively, we struggle. Doesn't matter who it's against. When Ross County opened us up, Motherwell scored a couple against us, Celtic have opened us up a few times, and he has to ball for the back. I mean, Walter Smith done it, I know I'm getting back a bit, but Walter done it, Souness done it. He has to ball for the back. I mean, up top, Desser's an enigma, as Connor says, and he scored a few goals. He's not my starting 9 for next season, but it could well be depending on finance. Because he will get you goals, but he doesn't get you important goals and the critical goals. I'll get betters thrown at me here, but you know what I mean. He doesn't score goals when we absolutely need them in crucial games. He misses his chances. I know he scored against Celtic last week. We were 2-0 down at the time. But defensively, we're poor. I thought the 2 full-backs were poor today. I'm even talking about Robbie Fraser here. I'm talking about Ridvine. Come on. Carves looks like an empty shirt. I don't know if he's leaving. I don't know if he's not leaving. I don't know if his legs are wet. I don't know where she is with Carver. He's just played enough. He's played enough at this level for us, and he can't play at this level anymore. I don't know what's wrong with him, but we can't continue with Tavernier at right back next season. The centre back pairing, it could be anybody. Thought Ben Davies had an okay game today. He takes him off and we concede 2. And I know Sterling can play in a few different positions, and I said after the Celtic game he done okay when he played centre back. But I think full back and midfield is probably where we get the best out of him. I think the centre back can struggle because depending on who his partner is and who the 2 full backs are, I don't think he's got a rough idea what he's doing because he's not played there enough. So it's a big issue for the manager, and we have to ball for the back. I know he's looking at a centre back, but we need a dominant centre back who's good in there. Just somebody old fashioned, clear the ball, kick it in the stand, kick it out the park. I don't really care where it goes. Just as long as you can defend first. Football comes a second, just defend first because we don't really have a big decent defender up there.
Yeah, absolutely. Just to go back in the comments, Chaz with £2 super chat, thank you very much appreciated. Chronic, the fans need to open their eyes. Yeah, there's a lot of that needed. And another £2 super chat, we get pumped next week. Beat the truth. Yeah, there's obviously a lot of people now worrying about next week, Connor, because obviously we're playing the cup final against Celtic. It's going to be very difficult. We've got a lot of injuries. We've got a lot of players out of form. A lot of shoehorning players in certain positions. It's obviously going to be a difficult afternoon next Saturday, isn't it, Connor?
Yeah, it's going to be a tough one. I think Obviously, we don't know at this moment in time who's going to be fully fit for it. We hope a couple of players will come back into the fray. Hopefully, Balogun and Suter get back in time for that one. Because, today and even against Dundee, kind of makeshift in the back line when you're playing two young boys in there with Leon King and Robbie Fraser. That being said, I thought both done okay. I thought Fraser in particular looked decent. So maybe he's one we can look to in the future. But the reality is, we've seen it before. When you play Celtic, you can't give them chances like we did even today. I mean, Hearts scored 3 goals, 4 shots on target, as Kerr said. On one hand, that's clinical finishing from them. On the other hand, it's dreadful from us. And not only that, there was a couple of other moments in the game where, had they got right, they'd have scored, more than the 3 goals. And you look at the chance Shankland had when he's put through and his touch, let him down, just too heavy, and it goes through to Butland. But if he takes that under his control, he's through 1-on-1 again, in between other.
Just as he's making a cracking point there, Scott. He just goes into that freeze pose. But yeah, it is a big worry, obviously, with the injuries and everything coming up for next week, isn't it?
I say injury, but the Suter and Balogun improved that, because they've been poor. They've been playing at the back as well. I thought Davis has done okay since he's come in. Like I said earlier, Brian, we need 2 centre backs who are dominant and who can just defend. And they don't really emanate the ball for the back. Can you go Connor, let you back in, internet back?
It is, yes. My apologies. No, just on those points there, that, as you said, Kerr, as well, obviously with Balogun and Suter, ideally you want them back because they are the more natural pairing, but they've had their issues as well. Balogun, I think, has been okay in the main, but there's certainly been defensive flaws, I think, throughout the season. And I think, the thing is, we talk, and we will obviously talk about the chances that we had in that game that we missed. Stonewall penalty that wasn't given, if we're all being honest with ourselves as well. These are all factors in games that you can't ignore. But when you are 2 goals up with 8 minutes to go, all you have to do is see it out. It's not difficult. It's basic stuff. Keep the ball, corner flag it, waste time. You do all those things. We don't seem to do that though, and we just switch off. I mean, I remember when we went 3-1 up, the cameras panned to the stands, and you seen a flock of Hearts fans leaving the stadium because they thought that's probably game over, and it should have been. So that's the worry for next week. And make no bones about it. Yes, it's disappointing we've not won the league title. No getting away from that, and that is your bread and butter. That's the main trophy to win. But you do have a chance next season to finish with 2 trophies in the cabinet, win both cups. Something we haven't done in a long time actually is go and win any kind of double silverware in the season. So it would at least give you something to go home happy about at the end of the season when you reflect upon it, albeit it won't mitigate losing the league title. The fact it's against them as well, you've got to get that monkey off your back at some point, but it's a bit of mentality, and I think that's been our big problem. Our mentality isn't good enough. When we get put under a little bit of pressure, it just seems to crumble for too many players, and that can't be allowed to be something that continues on into next season. So yeah, I think wholesale changes are required. But next week's obviously coming first, so we're going to have to make do for at least another game with these players and hope they can produce something. But you're going to have to defend so much better than that, otherwise we will get torn apart.
Yes, and Kerr, we'll go on to the game today against Hearts. The starting lineup today was Butland in goal, with Tavernier, King, Davies and young Robbie Fraser making his first starting appearance for the club. Nicholas Raskin, Diamande and Todd Cantwell in the midfield, with McCausland, Wright and Dessers on the front 3. Now, Kerr, was there a few curveballs thrown in there with the selection?
Not really. I was disappointed that Cole McKinnon didn't get a start over Scott Wright. Listen, we all know what Scott Wright offers. We all know what he can do and what he doesn't do more of the time. So I thought maybe I started the young boy McKinnon. Listen, the day's game, you wanted to win it, but it was a game to maybe trial one or two things. He went for Robbie Fraser, which was good, but I think they're saying young Cole McKinnon there because I think he can offer something. I think he's got something about him. But we have to give these guys a chance, Brian, because see if we don't, they'll end up leaving and then a season down the line, we're seeing people saying, why do we let go of Lewis Mail now? Lewis was about England for a while, we never ever got a chance. He said we always doing it come Arnold. They're done the same at Rangers, who knows, could never get a chance, but it could happen again and we need to start using the academy because if we don't, what's the point in it? And secondly, we don't always get that money to go and buy ready-made players because that's just the way football is. So we need to work clever off the park, to bring in maybe one or two experienced guys, a couple of players we can mature and sell on and just use some of our own youth going forward. But the team is roughly what I was expecting. Up front, it was always going to be Dessers, given we've got our options there. And I think McCausland, he can a few bit of a stick, but I think Ross is maturing. I think he need a bit more physical strength on him. He'll become an even better player.
Yeah, so we'll start with the game, Connor. Don't think it was a particularly bad opening period. I think we were reasonably, control. Dessers has a glaring chance to take the lead, misses, and then what happens minutes later? You know what happens. That man, Lawrence Shankland, is running through, and I'm afraid when that situation or that scenario occurs, there's only ever one outcome, isn't there? You're on mute.
That'll be a yellow card for me.
Yeah.
No, listen, exactly right. Shankland in those positions, when he gets through, he's going to show, that there's no doubt or question mark in your mind. When Cyril Dessers is in those situations, it's 50-50. We're being honest,
He did much of that, Connor.
Well,
50-50 is very generous.
It's possibly 70-30. I mean, look, I think with that one there, it's unforgivable to me. I don't know how you missed that because McCausland's done brilliantly well. It's silly defending, to be fair, but he's nicked in. And to be honest, Ross McCausland probably could have just scored that himself. But instead, he tries to cut it across for Cyril. It's a good pace. It's exactly where he wants it. And he doesn't connect properly, and it goes straight to the keeper. Look, fair play to Xander Clark for getting it, but all Cyril Dessers has to do there is just pick a corner and smash that in the back of the net. And Xander Clark has no chance to save it then, but he doesn't do it. And I can't. This is the enigma of Big Cyril, that he has got 21 goals for the season. Ordinarily, if you get a striker who comes in his first season scores 21 goals, you're sitting here going, that's a pretty good season. But it's the fact that he could actually have 40 goals. The amount of chances he misses like that is unreal. And with ones like that, that's your bread and butter as a striker. Strikers don't miss those opportunities. They just don't. And Shankland proved that when he got his opportunity. He got one chance, the first shot on target for them in the whole game, and he scored it. That's clinical. That's what you want for a striker. So it's disappointing for me that the big man missed it. And obviously after that as well, he gets another opportunity that's, again, really an open goal for him. A bit more difficult because there's more pace in the ball when it's in the air. But instead of putting the ball in the back of the net, he puts himself in the back of the net. You can't write it. Again, it'd have been interesting to see with VAR if that one might have been a touch of offside in it. But, you've got to, and I'm seeing a comment there for Paul McCorrickle saying not every striker scores all the chances. True. And I'm not saying that you should score all the chances, but big chances like that, it's unforgivable to miss that as a centre forward, because I don't know what more your midfielders can do to tee you up and lay it on a plate for you, and you're not going to score it. I mean, if he gets that chance next week against Celtic and misses that in the cup final, unforgivable.
Am I right in saying that when we missed the chance that McCausland led on from it, McCausland was getting a mouthful for the manager?
Yeah, I think so. I think I was probably thinking you should have just shot and scored yourself. And to be fair, young Ross has got a decent finish on him. I think if he had just put the laces through it and sent it straight into the bottom bag, I think he scores. Ross McCausland if he takes the shot on. But obviously, he's trying to get his striker in amongst the goals and he's thinking we'll go for that sort of FIFA sweaty goal, press triangle here. And unfortunately for Ross McCausland, it was Cyril Dessers and not Lauren Shankland that he was squaring it to.
It's not the first time you missed a chance at, but going on, do you know what I mean? It's not like they can win off.
Yeah, I'll throw that back at you, Connor, though. Is that not part of the problem? There's not this ruthlessness to score goals where Ross is just taking sort of command of that situation and decided he's going to score rather than trying to set up a striker who's struggling. That's for me a lot of the problem. We are not ruthless enough and got that killer instinct for say young Ross there to say, right, I'm in a position to score, I'm taking it, unless it was blatantly obvious, like he was sitting like wide open. But do you not feel that's part of the problem where we don't have a ruthfulness just to be confident enough to just take on a shot and score?
I think there's an element of that. Certainly, I think sometimes we always look, for one too many passes in certain situations and don't get shots off quick enough to test the goalkeepers. I think in that scenario, as I say, I do think he probably should have the shot, Ross McCausland, because he's the one that's pinched it. He's the one that's got us into that situation. And from what was about, 10 yards out, you'd fancy that he would score it. So he should. But then conversely, you look at the Dundee game, he was in a similar situation there. He didn't pass it on that occasion, and we were all giving him penalties for that. So if he misses that, we probably sit and go, he's got to square that for Dessers. This is the catch-22 you're in that situation. I don't think he can win, really, whatever, unless he scores, obviously. So, personally, if it was me, I tell you right now, I'd be shooting. There is no way in this planet I'm passing that ball in that situation. I'm just not.
You're going to say, let me just pass it and pass it to Dessers.
Well, there is that. But no, you just wouldn't. You would have the shot. We've got to have that ruthless streak in us. And you've got to get players who have the confidence and the ability to do that. I do think we've got some players there to do that. I think if you switch McCausland for Todd Cantwell in that situation, pretty sure Cantwell would probably have had the shot there. But it is what it is. And as I say, in Ross McCausland's defence, he has to be thinking like everybody else in that stadium as soon as he squares it. Dessers is putting that in and it's 1-0.
Very much so. Scott B, how many league goals? About 16 or so? Yes, he has 16 league goals this season, Cyril Dessers. So you are absolutely spot on with that. So Scott, yeah, we go behind, and soon after, if I just double check before I say something wrong, we go into the half 1-0 down. It's been it was a funny half, wasn't it? Because as I say, we had a reasonably bright opening sort of period, and then we lose the goal, and we kind of lost our way for the rest of the half, didn't we?
I thought we actually played okay at times. I thought we were decent. I thought in midfield 3 were decent. I thought Raskin, Diamandi, and I thought Cantwell was good again. I thought Ross was coming more and more into the game. Scott Wright was as well sitting next to me in the city, but he didn't. I thought we played okay. Listen, we come into this game with with some of the players in the back of their head. They don't want to get injured for next week, which is understandable because that's what some players do. But a lot of them never. A lot of them are giving it all, whereas others you can see were maybe struggling at times. I thought Tab was struggling really badly. I thought Leon King looks kind of lost, doesn't he? Leon came in a few years ago and maybe we did high hopes, and then he got kind of thrown into Champions League games and he's never been right since. He's not had many chances and he's been brought back in and he's kind of like a fish out of water. Thought Robbie Fraser was doing okay. He was up against a boy who was quick. I think Hearts were trying to target him at times, but I thought he coped well considering that was his first league start. And apart from the goal, Hearts didn't cause a lot of issues. Do you know what I mean? I thought we were playing well. We just obviously we did take the win.
Very much so. We came out in the half after the half time, Connor. Ross McCausland gets one back for us. So you then think, right, we're on a bit of an ascendancy now. We're back in the game. You know, and as you said before, you know, Ross has been getting a lot of stick, but he's always trying, he's always beavering away, isn't he?
He is. He doesn't give up on it, and I think I'm pretty sure he got man of the match today, and I think that was deserved for the efforts that he put in, because that's what he does. And I think there in that one, I mean, look, first thing to say, if I'm being totally honest, I think he's slightly lucky, because I think in another day the referee probably gives a free kick for a high boot. He doesn't touch the Hearts player, to be fair. And I do think that once the ref let it go, there's no way VAR is going to overturn it, because he hasn't actually committed a foul. It's a high boot, which is a subjective decision for the referee to make on the field. And so, yeah, he slightly gets away with it in that aspect. But he does ever so well with it. It's a brilliant finish. He's managed to get it, low, hard into that corner beyond Xander Clark and in off the post. By the way, I thought that far post had a terrific game today, 2 goals. But it's a great piece of play for him. I just wish that when he gets into those situations, he would have the confidence to have a strike more often, because you can see he's got a finish on him. That's not the first time he's scored a goal like that. He done it earlier in the season in Europe when we were playing Aris at Ibrox, when we're behind in that game and we're all thinking surely we're not going to end up struggling against this lot again, and he popped up with another brilliant goal. So he's capable, and I think he just needs that bit of confidence, that bit more of a push to say, look, you can have an effort for Rangers. If you get into that kind of space, don't be afraid to have a shot. You don't always need to try and pass the ball in the net. And I think that showed it. He takes it brilliantly well, controls it well in the build-up, and buries it beautifully. And yeah, he deserved that, I thought, because he was. I thought he had a really good game overall today, to be fair.
Very much so. On the hour mark, as usual, Kerr, we're on about the hour mark for subs. When the timings of subs, Fabio Silva, Yilmaz, and Dowell come on for Scott Wright, Roy Fraser, and Diamande. Was the Yilmaz one, I would say, was purely for minutes for possibly next weekend. Dowell could be the same, and Silva coming on, being a bit of an enigma as well. At this point in the game, it was pretty much like for like sort of subs, wasn't it? It wasn't really anything tactically mind blowing, was it?
No, he seems to do that things on like for like. But I thought the changes actually helped us, because we look more attacking threat when they come on. Silver especially get involved very quickly. They always try to get forward, they try to link up well, and Red Van, we know he needs minutes, and listen, when he's fit and on fire, he is our best left back. But today I thought he come on and he struggled. I thought defensively he was very, very poor. But he does need minutes before next week, so it's interesting to see if he starts next week.
Yeah, and then of course, 9 minutes later, 10 minutes later, Todd Cantwell pops up with a goal. A guy that we've spoke about a lot in this pod, that he gets a lot of stick, but another one that for me, never sort of doesn't try. He's always there. He's always given. He's always trying something. And he popped up with the second goal today.
He did, and again another great goal and off the post. I thought he took it really well, to be honest, because when he receives the ball, it's such a tight area that the defender's right on him, and that first touch just to shift it on his left foot and give himself that half a yard was really, really good. And that's a piece of quality that we all know that Todd Cantwell is more than capable of. We've seen it a few times out the season, so we know that. And I think if you can get a bit more of that out of him, fantastic, because that's a great goal that he's scored there. I mean, the funny thing is, I think he's got 7 goals this season.
That's 8, Connor.
Is it 8? I think those 8 goals, I'm not sure any of them have actually been tap-ins. He usually does score when he does score, they tend to be good goals. albeit I'm absolutely not giving him the one on Wednesday night. He did not mean that.
Yes, he did, Connor. He meant it.
that was a deep cross into the back post, but
Deep
but
cross
no,
into the corner, Connor.
yeah, well, listen, as long as it goes in, but no, he took it well. Again, nothing Xander Clark can do about it. And see, to be fair, at that point, it kind of felt as if we needed that to be able to beat Xander Clark, because he'd made a couple of good saves as well, to his credit, and Hearts were making it very difficult for us. So just a moment of brilliance like that, just to open it up again, was excellent.
Yes, and Seema came on for Dessers and Sterling came on for Davies. I wasn't quite sure what the Davies one was about. I don't know if there was a knock or something. Obviously, Seema coming on was a bonus. Gets him 20 minutes in his legs, hopefully, for next weekend. Obviously, it'll be debatable if he starts next weekend, but nice to see Abdullah Seema back in the pitch.
It was. We all know the impact he's made at the start of the season, and hopefully to make an impact next week. But the Davis one was a strange one for me, Brian. I thought I'd be king for it, but unless he's just thinking he doesn't want any other players injured centre back, so that's why he's took Davis off and put Sterling there. But actually, I took Tab off and put Sterling at right back, but that's just my opinion.
Absolutely. So obviously, with Sterling coming on, Connor, we spoke just before it. Was I know you're kind of thinking ahead here and sort of playing a bit of devil's advocate. I mean, is he now? Was he potentially thinking about next weekend selections? With Sterling going in there, because we spoke about that just before we come on. We're still not sure about Suter's fitness. We're not sure about Balogun's fitness. Maybe he's obviously he knows something we don't.
Mm-hmm. Possibly, yeah. I mean, he'll certainly be more in the know than us.
I hope so.
He'll have an idea, and he said in the actual likelihood of who will be able to play and who won't. I think he's obviously got to consider the factor that even if you get Balogun and Suter back, I don't think you get 90 minutes out of them. Of course, it's a cup final, so it could go 120 minutes. You never know. And obviously, he'll be looking at. He'll certainly have an eye on that, and that'll be in his thinking. I thought, again, if Sterling okay when he came on, I would have, to be honest with you, and I think the commentators on Rangers TV, I think Tom Miller said this, and I don't often agree with him, but I think he was probably right that it might not have been a bad idea just to get Ryan Jack on the pitch and get him some minutes in his legs, and just to try and consolidate the position at that time and see the game out. Because one thing Ryan Jack does do, he's very good at sort of killing it off in that midfield and just having the calm head, play the simple pass, and just kill a bit of time off. And I think it might not have been a bad idea to have done that. Obviously, he chose not to, which is his prerogative. Fair enough. But it'll be interesting, because I think the other interesting factor for me was Todd Cantwell playing the full 90 minutes today. I thought, particularly at 3-1 up as well, when he made a few changes, I was expecting Cantwell to be one of the changes with an eye on next week, because you don't want any injuries happening, you don't want to take any chances. So I'm not sure whether we should be concerned for whether Cantwell actually will start next week. But yeah, that's what those changes in mind. Good thing is to see big Seema back as well. I thought had a couple of half decent moments when he came on. So yeah, that is a positive thing to take from it. Very interesting to see what his lineup's going to be next week, though.
You're on mute, Brian.
Ryan's on mute.
That's a yellow card for me. Gee whiz. So yeah, the sub came on as we just spoke about, Kerr, and he came up with a goal. A nice neat finish, actually. What I liked about it was he didn't mess around. He took the touch and he hit it first time. He wasn't dilly-dallying or sort of thinking about. He knew what he was going to do. He took the touch and he hit it first time. For me, that's been a big issue with a lot of our forward players this year. Is they get into a position and instead of just taking the shot first time, they're looking around, or you may be trying to pass to somebody else instead of having that killer instinct and saying, "No, I'm in a good position. I'm going to shoot."
Yeah, I thought he took it well, what you said. His awareness is very good. He knew the ball ran across. Hearts boys are thinking, well, you get it, no, you get it, and Silver's like, no, I'll get it. Runs in, takes a touch, bang, it's a goal, and that's what he can offer. We all know he came in and he's done well when he started, and it's a wee spell, and we all know he's not hanging about. After next week, he's back to Wales, and he'll go wherever he goes. But he's got something different. We've not got it at this moment in time, so he could make a difference. He could get a goal, but listen, I don't know what way the manager is going to go next week, but I kind of agree with Connor where, to me, Campbell has to start. I think if Campbell starts, he'll get a better chance. I think he offers something we've not got. He can create. You see folk complaining, he maybe gives a ball away or he doesn't run back. He's number 10. He's not a 6 or 10. He creates. He takes a risk with his play because he wants to get his moving. He wants to create stuff, so it doesn't come off all the time. That's why he got 2 guys behind him. But I've got a feeling he'll not start next week, and I've got a feeling the Scouse boy will come back in.
Well, we'll come back to that. We'll come back to that scenario. I'm sure everybody will love that sort of debate. But as you said before we came on, Connor, 3-1 up, 81 minutes gone, 9 minutes to go plus added time. You would expect a Rangers team to see that game out and sort of manage it in a certain way that don't concede crosses, don't concede daft fouls, don't concede set pieces. And then was it Lumbisica? If I pronounced that name wrong, I totally apologise. A cross came in from the left, and he just an easy volley for him into the goal, wasn't it?
I mean, he had the freedom of Tynecastle. It was ridiculous. I said before we come on, nobody has a look behind him to see that he's there. The whole passage of play as the ball's coming down the wing and then being crossed in. You can see clearly in the cameras, you can see Tav and Ridvan's shot numbers, but you don't see them have a look round. Just a wee look over your shoulder. Who's behind me? Because in my opinion, when you're in that box, always assume somebody's behind you. Don't think there's nobody there. And that seemed to be the case. And when the ball does go across, by the time it's, they notice that Lembeguis is there, too late. And yeah, decent finish. But that's schoolboy errors for your back line there. It really is. And you cannot give people that time and space. And look, I get it. 3-1 up, you'd think the game's done. But as soon as you go back to 3-2 with 5 minutes to go, you've given them something to go after now. And I can't really understand the thinking behind it. Of course, you've got to stop the cross going into the box in the initial phase, no doubt about it. But you can't have players standing 3 years above in the box. And it wasn't the first time. Not too long before that, there was a moment, I think, at 2-1, a ball was crossed in similarly for the other side, and it was Vargas, who was totally unmarked and got a free header. Thankfully, he sort of slightly mistimed it and it goes wide. But you're thinking again, where is the marking here? Who's picking these players up? So yeah, it was a poor one to concede. But to be fair, even at that point, I still thought, right, okay, well, just see this out at 3-2. You've had your warning shot now. Just get the head, keep the heads up and just, calm it all down, take the sting out, and we didn't do it. No,
and we certainly didn't do it, Scott. I'll try and pronounce his Tagawa, was it? A long ball from the goalkeeper, and Route 1 stuff. Yet again, the defence fails to deal with a forward ball or a cross. I mean, it's a wonder strike. You can't take that away from him. But again, that defence should be dealing with that long ball first, shouldn't they?
Yeah, I mean, Sandy Clark just kicks it along, and obviously, I don't know who wins the header. I think it was Kent, I'm 100% sure. But he wins the header really on King, which is fine because folk do win headers. But we never won the second ball. We're always slow at reacting. And the boy ran off Ridvan. Ridvan was at fault for 2 goals. The first one Tav as well, but he ran off Ridvan. As soon as he's in the box, he's free when the ball lands him. If Ridvan's there, he stops him getting the shot on or he can clear it. But he just watches him run by him, doesn't follow him. So that was Ridvan's awareness was poor. The 2 goals, and we all know he's great going forward, like something that our full-backs seem to be, but defensively we're poor. There's 2 goals we shouldn't have given away, Brian, and Tab was beaten far too easily for the first one and not for the first time. When Ridvan caught it at a back post, which Bonner was always caught it at a back post. And the second one, we lost the first ball, but you have to win the second balls. Remember John Brown saying that years ago, he said if Richard Goffnell wins the first one, I always make sure I win the second one. And you have to win the second ball because the first one might not be the colour one, but the second one is. And that's what you have to make sure you win. But we didn't win any of them, and that's why we get back to 3 each. And it was Route 1 stuff, but even though you have to be ready for it, you know what I mean? It's just very poor defending again from our back line.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. There's a couple of questions that have come in that I've marked up, so we'll go through them. Connor, this one came up from Paul. What about the Stonewall penalty? I assume Paul's speaking about the one that Dessers was, asking the referee when he got his shirt pulled. Did you feel that was a penalty?
I mean, yes, I think so. I think the reality is that you cannot, it frustrates me, right? Because at the start of this season, we were told that the officials had spoke to managers and defenders and players and said that shot pulls were going to be punished more this season. That if you were pulling a shot in the box, then it was going to be a penalty kick. That's what they were saying. That's what they were seemingly warming in those conversations. It doesn't seem to have been followed through on because there's so many instances. And me and Kerr in particular, we obviously do a Scottish football show, and we have spoke, don't know how many times, Kerr, about VAR and decisions and penalties that should be given and ones that shouldn't be and all that. And
Going up Rose again.
And he goes again. He goes again.
One tease about 30 seconds. That's an hard selfie, isn't it?
But I mean, you've done the football show with Connor and spoke about these issues before.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm not a fan of it, but it's not the technology, it's the people who control it and referees in general. And it's only going to get worse with Colin charge everything next season. It's not going to get any better. But even Jurgen Klopp came out today and says if he was voting against it, he would vote VAR as well, just because the people in England don't know how to work the technology, and it's the same up here. It's a good thing to have if it works properly, but in Scotland it doesn't. And it was probably a penalty because he's pulling his shot. I don't think Dessers was getting there, but he pulled his shot, so it has to be looked at. And even like to be looked at. Listen, VAR doesn't referee a game. It just pulls the decision for the ref having a look at it. It didn't do that, so, but you can see in other games, they maybe pull that back to look at, but obviously the dates like it's Rangers, this got in the game.
Well, the thing is, though, I mean,
is it a clear and obvious error, though, Connor?
Well, you could argue it is, because has the ref seen that? If he's seen that and he's not given it, I'd like to know why. If he's not seen it, then that's what VAR is there for, to send him to the monitor and help him out. Either way, it doesn't make sense. And you look earlier in the season, we got 2 penalties for shot pulls earlier in the season. There's been loads of others as well. The one against Hearts at Ibrox, where Peter Haddon is, it's not just a tug. He's full on pulling the jersey for a good few seconds. And then you look at the Garterman one at Aberdeen, and it's interesting what Kerr said there, because with the Garterman one, Goldson's probably not getting to that ball, much like Dessers today. He's probably not getting to the ball. But because Garterman has made such a blatant pull of the jersey and prevented any opportunity, because the ball's in, and they said it was in the area where it could have fallen to Goldson. Therefore, Garterman has prevented any opportunity of that, so it's a penalty. So I think today the same standard should really apply, as did on that one. For whatever reason, it doesn't. And yeah, down south, obviously, they're having this vote about whether or not they're going to keep VAR. I suspect they probably will, to be honest with you. But it'll be interesting to see if that happens up here at some point. Again, it would need a similar thing to happen. One of the clubs would need to table a motion. We know that if we tabled it, it would get voted down. Because for all the complaints that they have about it, they wouldn't vote for a motion that we've gone for because they think it all goes our way. So we probably need somebody out with the old firm to do it. So it'll be interesting to see. But yeah, I just think the technology itself isn't the problem. It's the people running it who aren't helping at all across the board. And whether your team benefits from it or not shouldn't matter, because the right decision's the right decision. And unfortunately, we seem to struggle to get it.
Yeah. And of course, Kerr, would it have resulted in a sending off?
That's up to the ref. Probably should have, but I don't know. I don't know what the referee's going to say, Brian. I don't know what referees are going to do in football nowadays. The betting places should make coupons for referees, shouldn't they? What decision they're going to make? Because I just don't know about referees. It used to be you could work out what referees are going to do, certain refs, but now it's. And I think David Dickinson was on here, who is one of the worst referees about. I mean, and that's hard saying that in Scotland, but he is absolutely atrocious.
Now,
Yeah.
I'll throw this one at
He
both of you.
should have stuck with antiques, to be fair.
I'll throw this one both of you, so any one of you can come in this one. Partizan 11, 32 goals conceded in the league this season. 22 of them have come since the turn of the year, 18 of which have come since March to May. 2 clean sheets in league since February, and one of them was a 0-0 at Dens. That's... when I read that when it came through, I was quite flabbergasted. I couldn't actually believe it. That's atrocious, isn't it?
As Brian, and we spoke about this a while, but every time it was brought up, the manager would say we still get the best defence in the league, didn't he? He brought up a few times saying we still get the best defence in the league. But as a fan, you can see things, because as a manager, you're watching games in a slightly different way, because you're watching your players and you're seeing the guys in training and stuff. As a fan, you're watching it because you want to win, and you maybe see it through both into specs at times. But we've seen it happening, we've seen it coming. Could have done anything? I don't know, because of the player wise. I don't know if he could have changed it, but we all knew it was happening, and it just seemed to get worse and worse and worse as the months drew on.
Would it be fair to say, Connor, that the uproar and the injuries and the defence has obviously contributed to this? Not making excuses, but when you've got a settled back four, when you've got even if you're dropping one guy every so often, it's not so bad. But when you're never playing with the same back four week in, week out, for me, that is an issue. If you're playing with the same back four week in, week out, and the same goalkeeper, you're getting an understanding, you're getting a confidence in everybody, what they're going to do. When you're never playing with the same guys week in, week out, it's very difficult. And as I say, I'm not using that as an excuse, but that has contributed to some of these numbers that Partizan 11's put up, isn't it?
Undoubtedly, because as you say, you don't have that stability. And even from a goalkeeper's point of view, if you don't know week to week who's going to be in front of you, who is your back line, it's very hard, because different players have different styles of playing and of defending and ways they like to do things. So some defenders will drop a little and sit a little bit deeper than others. Some of them like to come up a bit more. And it's about getting balance there and getting it right and getting a back line that gels together, that works together. And injuries can happen. We get that, right? That is part of football, and sometimes you're forced to make changes, but we've made changes at times where we didn't have to make changes. Come on, has chopped and changed regularly since he came in. Very rarely has he put out 2 team sheets that have been exactly the same as each other. I think with the exception of Jack Butland and James Tavernier, everything else has moved at one point or another. That doesn't necessarily help. That being said, I think there were players who were left in too long. I think Connor Goldson needed to be dropped before he was, if we're being honest, because he had been having a stinker for a bit. Eventually he did get dropped, and then he's picked up some sort of injury. Make of that, but what you will. But for me, he needed to be dropped sooner, because clearly it wasn't working. And part of that might be fatiguing, the fact that since he came to Rangers, he's barely missed a game in a few seasons now. So it's decisions like that you've got to be strong enough to make. We've had Balogun in there, and he's been fit most of the season, and it's took us to the latter stages to actually give him proper game time. I mean, Michael Beale brought him in as an option and then never used him. And you just thought, well, why have you put him on the wage bill if you're not going to use him? So it's things like that. Hopefully next season we get a more solid back line. I think a couple of centre backs coming in wouldn't be a bad option, because I think chances are Ben Davies will go out the door. I think Connor Goldson might well go. Balogun, I don't know if he's got another season in him. I mean, I'd keep him around for another year if he did. I just don't see it personally. So there's 3 centre backs gone straight away. That leaves you with Suter as your only centre back left, and he's probably the only one that will stay. So that's what you need, and then you need to be able to keep those same players playing.
Absolutely. And folks, do what Aldo has just said there. Like, share, subscribe, and all the socials that we've got, Twitter, X, Facebook, YouTube, I believe we're on Instagram as well. So, we're all over all that. So please give us a wee follow on that. Looking forward to the next weekend, Kerr. It's going to be very, as we've spoke about, it's going to be very interesting to see who's fit and who's not. The selection. Will it be quite a telling team selection, as in for next season, or will the manager not really care about that?
I don't think he'll base this on next season. I think he'll base it on who he thinks can get a result. But my only thing is, he'll go back to the players that's one of probably his favourites, and 2, he puts trust in it. Doesn't mean the players are better because he puts trust in them. It's just the guys he trusts. Maybe they listen to him, maybe they don't argue back with him, stuff like that. So that's why Connor mentioned Campbell getting 90 minutes. I don't think Todd starts. I think that'll be a mistake. I think Todd obviously has something different against Celtic. You've seen it when he come on Ibrox. The game changed slightly, and I think if Lawrence, I don't know if he'll be fit, but he's been poor the last 2 games against them. Lundstrom, can he come back in, Brian? Honestly,
no.
And I'm not against John Lundstrom personally, but if he gets brought back in, it's a huge question mark not against him, but against the manager. Yeah. And listen, I know the managers come into the club and have to deal with players that other managers have brought in, players who have maybe been, like I mentioned, zero bottlers, etc. But if you keep losing against them, no matter who you are, you're not going to last at Rangers. Doesn't matter if you've had the transfer windows, if you brought in your own players. If you keep losing consistently against them, the fans will want you going, and the board on the daft. And if the tide does turn, it could be next. And I'm not going to say he should be away, but he can't keep losing against Celtic. And the cup final may be unfair, but if you lose it narrowly, or we sneak it, great. But if you get a humping, and that could happen depending on his team selection, the pressure's on him, because the first game next season is at Celtic Park, or Park Kerry, because Wolf might be listening. Then that means that's another loss, and you're back on the back foot straight away. And not many managers at Rangers last. And Steven Gerrard was the last manager we had. I know he only won 1 title, but we went to Celtic games with a decent record. So I don't know where he'll go. I just hope he starts with the same midfield today. I would start with that. I think you have to go for it, but I don't think he will. He'll play Tav, but I think Celtic target Tav. I think Maeda was going to use Tav because there's so much you can get out of him. But I think when Maeda's there, he's clever in his play, and Tavernier's not. And Celtic know our weaknesses better than probably we do, or the players do. Our own players do. So it's going to be tough next week. But the manager has to be clever. When I mean that, he has to play players that win the game, no play players that he likes.
Yeah, absolutely agree. I think it was FX Heroes made a comment earlier, Connor, that there's not many that in this squad that are going to be here next season. It's probably easier to say who's still going to be here rather than who's not going to be here this season. Well, it clearly is for a lot of the players. Next week is pretty much last chance saloon for them to actually show a bit of care and a bit of pride about the club, isn't it?
Absolutely. And listen, if I'm one of those players who knows that my time's probably up in a Rangers jersey, I want to go out swinging. I want to go out by winning a trophy. And that's the best way to sign off. Even if you've not had the greatest of times, and that's the opportunity that lies before them. There's players in that squad this season who don't know what it's like to win an Old Firm game. Because they've come in this season and failed in every single one of them. So that's something they need to get as well. Because I tell you, sometimes that helps with your confidence when you're getting into these games. Because when you're playing these games and you just can't win, you just can't, no matter what, you can't seem to get a win. Wee bits of luck here and there have gone against you as well, which has happened. We have to be honest enough to say that we've not really had the rub of the green in a few of the games as well, although it's not an excuse for why we lost them. And you start to think, well, we just kind of get the beating of this hot, and yet as soon as you get one win under your belt, that confidence comes. We've seen it under Steven Gerrard, that first win we got against them in a long time, the Ryan Jack goal. That gave us more confidence going into those games. We looked a different, more confident side, even though we did still have a few stinkers against them. We didn't look like it intimidated us as much as it had done prior to getting that win. So that's what needs to be done next week, and go out there and just grab the bull by the horns and get the job done if you can. And to the point on Lundstram as well, I think, I tell you, I don't know how Philip Clement can trust John Lundstram to put him in there, because that can cost you your job. If he puts Lundstram in there and then he lets us down again, the questions are going to rain down on Clement. How can you trust somebody who, quite frankly, cost us the league title with that performance at Celtic Park, or Parkhead, sorry, Wolf. I know we might not have went on and got anything for that game anyway, but that killed it. That took the game away from us, straight after, just minutes after you got a goal back as well, to go 2-1, to go in at half time. We saw the nervousness that happened, and because of his poor decision, it cost us. And it's not the same as when Balogun was sent off earlier in the season, because he kind of had to take that red card in some ways, whereas Lundstram just didn't need to do it. And I think if you put him in and he lets you down again and he costs you, I think that's where Clement will come under serious pressure for his decision making.
Yes, it's all ifs and buts and maybes leading up to next weekend's Scottish Cup final on Saturday, the 25th of May. But that'll do us today, folks. We were reacting to the Hearts 3, Rangers 3 final league game of the season. I think for a lot of people, that was a game that was just needed to get out of the way, and this season just almost forgotten about it. But as Connor says, the season's not quite over. We've got the Scottish Cup final. We have Kelly Pie, member for 17 months. Afternoon, everyone. Gutted to say the least. Yes, absolutely. Can't agree more. It's very much a league season to forget. We've obviously got the League Cup in the bag. We're going head-to-head with Celtic next week at Hampden for the Scottish Cup, so please join us for that. I believe we'll have a full card next week. We've got the Monday phone-in next week. We'll have the member show on Thursday, and then we'll obviously have a build-up on the Scottish Cup final. But my thanks to Connor and my thanks to Scott for coming on. And everybody in the comments, thank you very much. Much appreciated. We shall see you on Monday, I believe, for the phone-in, and hope you all have a good weekend. Thank you.